Hello, and welcome to Quiet Nights, your gentle retreat into a world of calm and tranquility. Tonight, we invite you to unwind with a soothing story, crafted to ease your mind and guide you toward a restful night's sleep. But before we begin, take a deep, unhurried breath, and then another. Feel the weight of the day slowly melt away, like soft clouds drifting across the evening sky. Let go of any lingering thoughts, any tension that still clings to you. There's no rush, no expectations, only this quiet moment, just for you. As you listen, let the rhythm of the words lull you into a state of peaceful relaxation. Now close your eyes, settle in, and let the whispers of the night carry you away. Welcome to Quiet Nights. Imagine an ocean, impossibly blue, stretching toward a horizon ablaze with sunlight, its farthest reaches shimmering like molten gold. Listen, beyond the rhythmic sigh of waves collapsing onto sand, the faint, lonely cries of gulls drift on the air. An island materializes from the haze. Its heart is a tangle of emerald undergrowth and towering palms, encircled by beaches of bleached ivory sand. Tiny settlements, barely discernible, nestle into the landscape, appearing as natural formations rather than habitations. From one such cluster, a slender path snakes inland, and it is here our narrative unfurls. A languid breeze whispers through the palm canopy high above. Your gaze lifts, captivated by the play of light on the tattered fronds, now gilded, now shadowed emerald as they sway. Sunlight, fragmented, dances across your skin. You lift a hand to shield your eyes. A luminous quality pervades everything. A shimmering veil that seems to suspend this place outside the relentless march of time. Here, there's only you and the elements, intensely present, vibrantly alive. The sultry air imposes a delicious torpor on the day. Seconds dissolve into the drone of unseen insects, the rustle of palm leaves, the intermittent glint of sun through your lashes. This isle possesses a unique spirit, you sense, unlike any shore you've known. Secrets lie dormant beneath its surface, waiting, perhaps for you, perhaps for some other soul adrift on curiosity's tide. The notion resonates, lending an unexpected gravity to your meandering through the balmy afternoon. The trail ahead curves sinuously between the palms. Fallen fronds, brittle and yellowed, accumulate in drifts along its edges. Occasionally, one strays onto the path, yielding beneath your step, with the sound of thick, waxed parchment tearing. The atmosphere hangs heavy, rich with mingled perfumes. You discern the sweet fragrance of coconut flesh and sun-ripened pineapple, woven with deeper, earthier notes of decaying wood and damp soil. A constant saline tang, the breath of salt and seaweed, underscores it all. An insistent reminder of the ocean's proximity. Here, the sea's vast presence is an undeniable constant, a magnetic force pulling you toward its edge. Every walk undertaken on this island has inevitably culminated on the shore, gazing out at the glittering expanse of turquoise and sapphire. There have been moments, fleeting yet potent, where the urge arose to abandon the sand, to stride directly into the embrace of the water, swimming onward, spinning through the buoyant waves, utterly unbound. You grasp the allure, and the reason folklore brims with sagas of the sea, and those who chose it as their realm, whether driven by romance, daring, or stark necessity. The decision to forsake solid ground for an existence upon the waves holds a profound fascination. To feel the groan of aged timbers underfoot, hear the sharp retort of canvas snapping taut in the wind. Pressing onward, you reach a bend where a palm has grown askew, its trunk barring the way. You reach out, your palm registering the coarse, scaled texture of the bark as you negotiate the crooked obstacle. A quiet acknowledgement surfaces. You're but a visitor here, traversing paths worn smooth by countless predecessors, their footfalls absorbed by the ancient trees that will stand long after your own passage is forgotten. As you proceed, a delicate prickling of moisture beats on your skin. The days and nights bleed together in a warm, humid embrace, rendering the infrequent caress of a breeze a profound relief. As it touches the nape of your neck, a welcome coolness begins to spread. For an instant, your thoughts clear, the dreamy haze momentarily receding. The serrated edges of the palm fronds sharpen. The greens of the jungle understory vibrate with intensity. A fly buzzes past, its sound startlingly distinct, merging with the pervasive, electric thrum of insects serenading the trees. Beneath this symphony, you become aware of the steady, rhythmic pulse of your own heart. Close your eyes, focus, sense the myriad lives finding shelter from the fierce sun beneath this protective canopy. Your own heartbeat, the ceaseless insect choir, the rustle of a small creature moving in the distance, the distant gull's cry, the echo of another human presence somewhere unseen. The breeze falters, and the trance-like state descends once more. The muggy warmth settles around the trees like a thick shroud, muffling thought and sound into a subdued, living stillness. Your feet continue their journey, navigating the subtle undulations of the path. Now and then, a desiccated frond crumbles under your shoe, or a patch of loose earth shifts slightly. Your gaze drifts languidly from roots to foliage, to a sliver of azure sky glimpsed through the leaves, to a mound of damp detritus gathered at the base of a trunk. Time flows unnoticed as you move deeper into the whispering palm grove. Then the trail terminates abruptly at a dense barricade of trees. They stand shoulder to shoulder, impenetrable to sight. You halt, allowing your other senses to probe the unseen. Closing your eyes, you inhale deeply. The familiar bouquet returns: pineapple and coconut, sodden leaves, earth, seaweed. But the brine is sharper here, more assertive. Your senses attuned to the salt, and beneath the forest's hum, a new sound emerges, the unmistakable crash and retreat of waves upon sand. The beach, you understand, is near. Scanning the wall of palms, you spot a V-shaped aperture between two trunks just wide enough to pass through. Bracing your hands on the rough bark to either side, you push through the intervening tangle of overgrown vegetation. Beyond the screen of green, a breathtaking panorama unfolds. A windswept beach, utterly deserted. Grains of gold stretch away in both directions, meeting the horizon's curve. Directly ahead, the cerulean water deepens, its surface broken by white-crested waves that surge onto the shifting sands in an endless, rhythmic dialogue of advance and withdrawal. You descend to the water's edge. The ghost of a recent wave lingers as a damp, darker outline on the sand. You trace its curve with the toe of your shoe, stepping back just as the next surge rushes towards you. As the water nears, you crouch, letting it flow over your outstretched fingers. It is surprisingly warm. Tiny grains of sand cling to your skin as the receding tide tugs gently. Straightening, you scan the length of the beach. Far in the distance rests a large dark silhouette upon the shoreline. Shielding your eyes against the glare, you strain to discern its form, but the distance renders details obscure. Curiosity becomes your compass, pulling you onward. With each step, the incoming waves erase your footprints, smoothing the sand behind you. An observer might believe you had simply risen from the sea itself, rather than emerged from the palm forest. You fall into step with the ocean's cadence. The air here is bracing compared to the heavy stillness amongst the trees. A sea breeze ruffles your clothes and evaporates the moisture from your skin, a pleasant chill against the warmth. Occasional gusts lift veils of loose sand, sculpting miniature, transient dunes along the berm, separating forest from shore. Every gust paints fleeting whitecaps across the blue expanse. Even from this distance, you can see the deeper water churning, restless. Soon, you are close enough to the dark shape to perceive details. It is unmistakably a wooden sailing ship of considerable size and age, long stranded upon this coast. It lists heavily to one side, canted at an unnatural angle. Jagged gaps mar its hull, sections of planking torn away. You ponder its journey, its destination when fate intervened. The souls aboard, the tempest or mishap that cast it upon these lonely sands. Approaching the wreck, its true scale becomes apparent. Standing beside the hull, you feel dwarfed. Its dark timbers, encrusted with salt, sand, and barnacles, loom against the azure sky. You crane your neck, tracing the lines of the masts reaching upwards. A section of the keel is exposed. Reaching out, you touch the wood. The surface is rough, abrasive, as if years immersed in the brine have transmuted it into something more akin to coral than terrestrial timber. Clumps of brittle, dried seaweed cling like tattered vestments. Thick, frayed ropes hang limply, stirring occasionally in the breeze, their fibers stiffened, perhaps by ancient tar, perhaps merely by time's slow alchemy. Circumnavigating the vessel cautiously, you arrive at a breach in the hull. Peering inside reveals a cargo hold, crammed with wooden crates, sturdy chests, and burlap sacks. You rest a hand on the splintered wood. In that instant, a peculiar sensation flows through you, a distinct summons, an inexplicable pull towards the wreck's interior, as if the ship itself possesses a magnetic field. It feels less like a choice and more like an acceptance. The ship has beckoned you. With a final glance along the empty sweep of the beach, you hoist yourself through the opening into the shadowed belly of the derelict. Subdued daylight filters through scattered holes and fissures in the aged wood. The air within is still, thick with dust, yet paradoxically drier than the humid air outside. Faint, ghostly aromas linger, the memory of spices, perhaps, or dried fruit, mingled with a sweet, almost burnt sugar scent, reminiscent of stored grains or molasses. Most containers are secured with heavy, rusted iron padlocks. You investigate a few of the sacks, finding them largely empty, their contents long surrendered to time or scavengers. You discover only a shriveled lemon, hard as stone, and an empty glass bottle sealed with a tight-fitting stopper. Navigating the dimly lit labyrinth of storage, you encounter a flight of stairs ascending to an upper deck. An intuition assures you of your safety, as though the ship itself sanctions your presence. Each wooden step groans under your weight, the sharp sound reverberating through the profound silence. A fleeting impulse urges quiet, lest you disturb someone, instantly dismissed by the memory of the ship's long abandonment. It is only you, the cargo, the sand, and the sea. Reaching the next level, you find the crew's quarters. Tattered remnants of hammocks hang limply from ceiling beams or are slung between supports, spectral reminders of the sailors who once slept here. There is little else to hold your attention. You continue upwards towards the light. Emerging onto the main deck, open to the sky, the brilliant sun feels both blinding and benevolent after the ship's dim interior. Your eyes adjust quickly. You wander the weathered planks, finding the ship's wheel. The wood is ancient, cracked, yet standing there, one hand resting upon it, gazing seaward, evokes a powerful sense of command. Captain, or perhaps helmsman. The thought sparks questions. Who were these mariners? What tales did they carry? From whence did they sail? And where did their journeys end? Answers remain elusive, lost to the tides. Surprisingly, the masts still stand, remarkably straight and sturdy. Impressive feats of timber you note with admiration. Near the base of one mast, a flutter of movement catches your eye. Intrigued, you approach. It could be a scrap of hammock, a piece of sacking torn loose. But as you draw nearer, you recognize it as a piece of black fabric stirring in the breeze. Carefully, you lift aside coils of rope and a pair of heavy metal hooks that lie upon the fabric, pinning it down while ensuring it doesn't escape on a sudden gust. Once freed, you unfold it with both hands. What it reveals steals your breath. Against the stark black background, a white skull grins above crossed bones. As the realization solidifies, a pirate flag, a gust of wind snatches one corner from your grasp. For a moment, it streams horizontally, snapping taut as if hoisted atop the mast. The skull seems to leer, animated by the wind. You picture sighting this flag through a spyglass, the ship bearing down. Then, conversely, you imagine sailing beneath such an emblem, this grinning herald announcing your arrival on distant shores. The wind subsides, and the flag hangs slack in your hands. You fold it with care, tucking it back beneath the ropes and hooks. There's one place left to seek, the captain's quarters. Soon you are pushing open a solid door and stepping into the most appointed space on the vessel. Light streams through slanted stern windows, illuminating a large wooden desk. A fine patina of dust coats every surface. Tiny drifts of wind-blown sand have collected in the corners. The floorboards, though weathered, retain an air of elegance, as do the tarnished light fixtures and the scattered nautical instruments. On the desk lies a stack of papers. You handle them gently. The pages are brittle, yellowed with age, some already crumbling at the edges. You make out lists of cargo, ports of call, names that might constitute a crew manifest. Whether these belong to the pirate captain or a predecessor, you cannot know. Turning from the desk, you move to a window seat overlooking the ship's stern and the vast blue expanse beyond. If you were the captain, you muse, this is where you would pass the hours, gazing at the horizon, lost in dreams of adventures past or those yet to dawn. Leaning against the seat cushions, you feel something hard behind you. Reaching back, your fingers close around a long, cylindrical wooden case. You carefully unscrew its two halves and withdraw the rolled parchment concealed within. As you unroll it, a profound sense of understanding washes over you. This, you realize, is what the ship intended for you to find. In your hands rests a meticulously drawn map. Studying it closely, you see it doesn't depict some far-flung, unknown land as you might have expected. It appears to be a chart of this very island, and there, marked just inside the tree line, not far from your current position, is a bold, dark X. X marks the spot. For what precisely remains unknown, but an undeniable certainty settles within you. You're meant to discover it. Your gaze sweeps the cabin and lands on a long-handled shovel leaning against one wall. An incongruous item for a captain's quarters, you think. Or perhaps not. Perhaps this map was the very reason for the ship's voyage to this island, countless years ago. The crew might have been preparing to venture ashore, seeking whatever lay buried when disaster struck. Somehow, in the chaos, the map and shovel were left behind. With a final look through the stern windows, you rise, taking the shovel as you leave. Back on the open deck, you pause, struck anew by the wreck's haunting beauty. In its prime, it must have been a magnificent sight, bustling with life beneath the watchful gaze of its black flag. Carrying the map and shovel, you descend the stairs, past the ghostly crew quarters, down into the ship's shadowed depths. From the storage hold, you navigate back to the damaged hull section and carefully climb out onto the sand. While the feel of solid ground is welcome, a shiver traces your spine. The lingering echo of the strange magic felt aboard the pirate vessel. Consulting the map, you locate a dotted line leading into the forest, originating between two distinctly crossed palm trees. You scan the tree line, searching for this unique landmark. It doesn't take long to spot them, their trunks forming an almost perfect X. The sand immediately surrounding the ship is soft and deep. Your feet sink with each step, but soon you reach the firmer ground of the berm, dividing beach and forest, littered with pebbles, twigs, and dried fronds. Following the tree line, you arrive at the paired palms. Bending slightly, you pass beneath their intersection, as if stepping through a hidden portal. A small carving on the right-hand trunk catches your eye, a miniature circle positioned above an X, a simplified skull and crossbones. You are undoubtedly on the correct path. Re-entering the forest, you notice the light has diminished significantly. Sunset approaches. The air already holds the soft dimness of impending evening. A gentle breeze drifts inland from the beach, keeping this edge of the palm grove relatively cool. Ahead, you discern what might be a faint footpath winding deeper among the trees. It roughly corresponds to the dotted line on your map. You follow it. Brittle fronds crackle underfoot. The insects intensify their vesper song. Further in, you arrive at a secluded grove. According to the map, this cluster of trees encircles the spot marked with the X. You approach the nearest tree, examining its rough bark. Just as you anticipated, the same small carving is present. You move to the next tree, finding the mark again. Systematically, you check each trunk, encircling the clearing. With every touch of bark, you feel an increasing connection to this enchanted place, enveloped more deeply in its dreamlike essence. Perhaps it is the same magnetic pull felt on the ship, or the map's silent guidance that draws you inexorably toward the center of the grove. Stepping into the heart of the arboreal circle, you know you have found it. On the ground before you lies a large X, fashioned from carefully arranged pebbles of diverse colors. The stones glitter softly in the fading sunlight, filtering through the palm canopy. X marks the spot. you murmur, feeling the solid weight of the shovel in your hand. You pause, absorbing the quiet beauty of the forest, the artistry of this simple marker laid down so long ago. The identity of its creator remains a mystery, yet you offer silent gratitude for this captivating quest. The insect hum seems to amplify as you focus on the pebble design. Lifting the shovel, you press its point into the earth beside the X and begin to dig. Time dissolves into the rhythmic thud of metal against soil. The warm air closes in. You feel moisture gathering on your arms and neck. A light breeze sighs through the trees, carrying the promise of cooler air on the nearby beach. You will return there soon, but first, this task must be completed. A metallic clink resonates up the shovel's handle. Contact. It jumps slightly in your grasp. Setting the tool aside, you kneel beside the shallow hole. Using your hands, you brush away the loose soil, revealing the object struck, a large wooden chest bound with heavy iron bands. The familiar scents, coconut and pineapple, damp leaves and seaweed, flood your senses, grounding you firmly in this moment, this place. Taking a deep breath, you lift the heavy lid. It creaks open, releasing a faint scent of age and confinement. Inside, gemstones, gold, and silver coins glitter dully, catching the dusty shafts of light. Piles of old papers, yellowed and brittle, some tied with leather thongs, occupy one corner. Garnet rings and emerald-studded necklaces, like jumbled with tarnished silver buckles and curious small trinkets. And there, resting gently atop the hoard, is a delicate glass bottle containing a rolled message. You cannot decipher the script. It faces away from you. As you lift the bottle, something inside shifts with a faint jingle. A small coin, perhaps, or a piece of jewelry. As far as you know, you alone possess the knowledge of this treasure. It is a secret shared only between you and the island. The silent palms and the humming insects are your sole witnesses. Carefully setting the bottle beside the hole, you close the chest's lid. Your secret is safe, you whisper to the quiet grove. You take the shovel and refill the hole, tamping the earth down. But instead of recreating the simple X with the pebbles, you arrange them into the symbol from the trees, a circle above the cross. Gathering the shovel, the map, and the glass bottle, you retrace your steps out of the grove, ducking beneath the crossed palms. You follow your own faint trail along the tree line, cross the berm, and walk through the soft sand back to the pirate ship. Climbing back through the hull breach, you ascend the stairs to the captain's quarters, where you carefully leave the map and shovel. Then, drawn by the fading light, you emerge onto the open deck just as the sun begins its final descent. The sky along the horizon ignites in fiery reds, feathered with deep orange bleeding into the darkening blue above. You turn the bottle absently between your fingers, listening to the soft clink of the unknown object within. One day, you will unroll the message when the moment feels right, when you are ready for the next adventure it might hold. And one day, perhaps, you will return to the forest, to the treasure buried anew when its time has come. But for now, you remain, breathing the sunset air aboard the old pirate ship. You listen to the ancient timbers groaning softly beneath your feet. Imagine the sharp snap of black sails catching the wind, and feel the expansive freedom of a life lived at sea, gazing toward endless, beckoning horizons. Under the celestial shimmer, where moonbeams danced with starlight, Jehudi found his inspiration flowed most freely. His slender ibis beak dipped low, nearly brushing the papyrus scroll where his reed pen traced its intricate path. Tonight, a narrative unfolded, a chronicle of Re, the sovereign sun, and the mortals dwelling in the fertile lands of Kemet. The papyrus whispered back at the pen's insistent scratch, weaving the tale before the inevitable dawn, when Re would surge from the divine realm, banishing Jehuti to the Duat, that shadowed domain, untouched by sun or moon. He sat within his sanctuary in Men Nefer, the heart of the ancient kingdom. Walls fashioned from immense, polished bricks formed his earthly abode, their surfaces alive with vibrant frescoes, depicting gods and mortals alike. Outside his window, moonlight kissed the apexes of the distant pyramids, colossal monuments piercing the night above the slumbering metropolis. Jehuti, possessing a man's form, crowned with the elegant head of an ibis, meticulously painted the sacred glyphs. The familiar fertile scent of the Iteru, the great river, drifted through his chamber, a sweet perfume on the night air. This life-giving water, the artery of this ancient world, pulsed through the city. A soft zephyr stirred the fronds of palm trees, while overhead innumerable stars glittered, silent witnesses, gazing down upon the impassive faces of the great sphinxes. Soon Ra would stir, consuming the moon and stars in his fiery ascent, ushering in the day. As night returned, he would journey back to the underworld, a vigilant guardian against the encroaching tendrils of Isfet, chaos itself. Yet this cosmic rhythm had not always held sway. In the Genesis, there existed only Re, the sun, ablaze in the heavens, and Nu, the boundless primordial waters. Re found solace observing the waters shimmer beneath his golden gaze. He noted the shifting luminescence throughout the day, retaining the name Re for his zenith glory, yet calling himself Kepri at the dawn's first blush, and Tem as dusk painted the sky in myriad hues. Loneliness, however, crept upon Re. With no divine companions, he summoned forth Anhur, the wind, who rattled the palm leaves and sighed across the land. Then came the rain, quenching the desert's parched breath with life-bestowing droplets. From Re's own tongue sprang Jehuti, divinity of the moon and stars, master of magic, script, and the meticulous calendar. With earth, rain, and wind established, life inevitably burgeoned. Exquisite flora unfurled across the land. Insects hummed, and creatures great and small populated Kemet. Soon, great thinkers, artisans, chroniclers, and builders claimed this realm as their own. Solitude dissolved. He walked among mortals, plants, and beasts, his falcon visage held high above the humans who offered him reverence and awe. Nurtured the crops and bestowed upon artists and scribes the light needed for their enduring creations. Held dominion over the earth, while his divine sibling, Ausir, governed the realm below. The Duat, abode of gods and venerated spirits, was a place of stark beauty intertwined with primordial chaos. The mortal sphere, bathed in sunlight, remained a bastion of Mayat, of order. Thus, countless ages flowed by. Re designated a Perso Ea, a pharaoh, to champion law and harmony among the Egyptians, while Ausir remained confined to a subterranean kingdom. But restlessness stirred within Ausir. A yearning grew to experience the world of mortals. As time drifted on, the chaos simmering in the underworld began subtly to permeate the earth above. Consequently, the men and women of Kemet wavered in their respect for Re. His temple saw fewer visitors. Yet Re remained resolute. He perceived a path to restore equilibrium. Turning to Jehuti, he declared, "You have ever been my aid in upholding Ma'at. You charted the calendar and governed the turning seasons. Now, a new duty awaits. You must stand sentinel over the earth through the night." Elaborated. He would descend into the Duat each night, ensuring Ausir stayed within his bounds. But daylight demanded Re's presence on earth. Every dawn, he commenced his celestial voyage. His rosy fingers stretched from the east, unfurling the day's light. With his vast mouth, he consumed the moon, and beneath his rays, the cities of Kemet stirred to life. Merchants cried their wares in bustling marketplaces. Women bartered for milk, eggs, and bolts of cotton. Magicians enthralled onlookers with feats of wonder, while artists applied vibrant pigments to stone. In the fields, farmers cast seeds: wheat, barley, flax, and grapes. And within the towns, children gathered before tutors, learning the intricate arts of reading and writing. As midday climbed, reigned supreme from the sky's apex. The searing heat drove farmers and merchants indoors seeking respite. Cool, fresh fruit, nurtured by the Nile's fertile embrace, offered refreshment. Even himself partook of succulent figs and sweet grapes, basking in the afternoon's golden effulgence. Meanwhile, beneath the sun's potent gaze, pharaohs paced through opulent palaces, decreeing the erection of temples, pyramids, and eternal tombs. The architects of this ancient land were master craftspeople, commanding vast labor forces and precious resources to sculpt magnificent cities from stone and sand. The people of Kemet were also among the earliest to embrace a system of writing. During the long, torrid afternoons, Scribes painstakingly chiseled hieroglyphs into stone stelae or brushed flowing characters onto papyrus scrolls. Hieroglyphs, words rendered as pictures, elegant phonetic shapes, adorn temple walls and official tablets. Their complexity reserved their mastery primarily for priests and administrators. Intriguingly, hieroglyphs were read not strictly left to right or right to left, but always following the direction the depicted figures faced. Often, this figure was a bird, a detailed Jehuti with his avian head, found particularly pleasing. While scribes labored over their glyphs, Re continued his westward arc across the heavens, journeying beyond the great Iteru. Longboats navigated the northern Mediterranean coast, carrying goods to and from distant lands across the Near East. Beyond the river's fertile strip, Ray gazed upon the endless dunes, where golden dust danced on gusts of wind. Anhur, god of air, offered a subtle smile as specks of sand glinted in the breeze. Traveling west, Re began his descent. Back in Men-Nefer, golden light brushed the rooftops as families convened for their evening repast. Scribes, magicians, merchants, and farmers returned to their homes, gathering for dinner. Re observed them all, from humble farmer to mighty pharaoh, arranging dishes upon tables small and large. There were green vegetables pungent with garlic, spiced lentils, eggs, and freshly baked bread. Across the land, honeyed beverages accompanied the hearty fare, mingling with shared tales and bursts of laughter. Rhea began to stain the sky with strokes of pink, purple, and crimson. His time drew near to journey below, while mortals slept and dreamt, renewing themselves for the day ahead. Re descended to watch over Osir, preserving the world's delicate balance. His brilliant colors flared across the sky as he approached the horizon to meet Ma'et. She, consort of Jehuti and goddess of truth and justice, worked alongside her husband to regulate the stars and seasons, employing truth and righteousness to maintain cosmic equilibrium. By day, Ma'at stood guard over Re's celestial bark, moored at the edge of the mortal realm. In the evening, she watched him sail into the embrace of the Duat. Now, stars pierced the deepening velvet of night. The moon ascended, signaling Re's departure. He stepped into his vessel, and with a knowing grin and a wave to Ma'at, paddled down towards the world below. Through the night, he would navigate the river that flowed through the underworld. The sun's final embers vanished. Jehuti, god of the moon, knew his vigil had begun. His pen flew across the papyrus, marking the passage of hours, days, months, seasons. Below, the bustling arteries of Kemet's great cities fell silent. Stars blazed fiercely in the obsidian sky, and the full moon cast its ethereal light as parents soothed their children into slumber. By this same lunar glow, Jehuti labored over his texts of alchemy and astronomy, inscribing arcane secrets for curious minds to ponder across generations, yet unborn. men and women relaxed within their homes, sharing company and spinning tales. Soon, sleep would claim them. But Jehuti remained vigilant, guarding order as he wove his own narratives. These are the chronicles whispered by firelight and starlight, tales of the Egyptian pantheon and the people who honored them. They speak of architects raising towering pyramid complexes and scholars delving into ancient forms of magic. Some, like the Hellenes, who would come later, whispered that Jehuti authored the legendary Emerald Tablet, an ancient text hailed as the cornerstone of alchemy, the art of transmuting matter and brewing wondrous elixirs. Many seekers believed these tablets held the secret to crafting the philosopher's stone, the key to eternal life. As Jehuti immersed himself in his esoteric work, watching over the sleeping world, Re pursued his journey below. His boat swayed gently as he navigated the underworld's river, mirroring the familiar current of the Itaru above. He offered salutes to the heroes and pharaohs of bygone eras. Many divinities called this realm home. Osir reigned supreme, but here too dwelled Anpu, lord of mummification, and Hathor, goddess of love and fecundity. They resided amidst the vast fields and wondrous caverns of the world beneath, where trees shimmered with turquoise foliage. Jehuti and Maat also counted this place as home, ascending only when the moon and stars held dominion above. In the mortal realm, the people sank deeper into sleep, resting peacefully, secure in the knowledge that Re maintained order below, while Jehuti and Maat stood sentinel above. Jehuti knew that as the sun began its ascent, he would exchange places with Re. When Re burst forth from the Duat, bringing the sun's fire, Jehuti would return below. This cycle, precise and unwavering, repeated every 24 hours. But for now, Jehuti savored the tranquil night. He gazed out across the sprawling city of Men-Nefer, ancient capital of Kemet. Though the might of this ancient civilization would ebb and flow across its vast history, the marvels constructed here would hold the world spellbound for millennia. A faint smile touched Jehuti's beak as his pen continued its rhythmic scratching. He cherished this quiet interlude, where the tension between order and chaos found a serene equilibrium. Yet he knew he wasn't alone in his wakefulness. Others shared his affinity for the night. For in Men-Nefer, night was the province of magic and mystery. While families slept, astronomers slipped from their beds, cloaked in warm shawls. They turned their eyes skyward, discerning patterns where others saw only scattered points of light in the immense darkness. They charted the heavens, naming constellations after beloved gods and resonant myths. The geese of Re, an ancient star pattern lost to modern eyes, wheeled across the sky. But tonight, two familiar configurations dominated, patterns destined one day to be known as the Plough and Orion. These celestial observers played a vital role for the people of the Iteru Valley. Through generations of meticulous observation, they learned to read the stars, predicting the river's annual inundation, allowing farmers to meticulously plan their agricultural cycles. This stellar divination also guided the timing of annual festivals, and some believed offered glimpses into the future. Watching the risings of sun and moon, studying the stars' positions, served a practical purpose too. It enabled the division of time into days, months, and years. Perhaps this explains why Jehuti, god of the moon, is credited with the invention of the 365-day calendar. Astronomers employed an instrument called a merket to survey the night sky, helping them track the nocturnal hours by the stars. The merket measured the decans, groups of 36 stars forming a celestial clock. The Book of Nut, an ancient Egyptian astronomical text, detailed how these stars could be used to tally days, months, and hours. As the quiet hours slipped by, the astronomers reluctantly stored their instruments and returned to their beds. For soon, Re would herald the dawn. Jehuti, sensing the imminent transition, concluded his writing for the night and departed his temple. Strolling along the banks of the Iteru, he pictured Re navigating the river in the world of the gods below. Soon, Jehuti would trade places, wandering through subterranean caverns, past lakes of fire and turquoise trees. Yet, he cherished his nights in the mortal realm, under the vast open sky glittering beneath the magnificent moon. He admired the city wrought by human hands, colossal structures of smooth brick soaring into pyramids, intricate details of past pharaohs etched forever into stone. The Iteru murmured and gurgled, flowing over rocks and earth, its gentle sounds a lullaby for the sleeping populace, punctuated by the soft hoots of night birds. Jehuti's beak gleamed in the starlight as he walked, marveling at the splendid place he called home. So many treasures resided here: immense tombs, pyramids, sphinxes, preserved mummies, potent magic. And then there was the language, the art, the mythology. The civilization of ancient Kemet would eventually fade, but its culture would resonate through eternity. Finally, the last deacon of the night concluded, its passing heralded by the first faint rays of dawn. Slowly, Re ascended from the world below. It was time for Jehuti to descend to the land of the gods for the day, to walk beside the subterranean river instead of the Iteru. Thus passed the days and nights. Re circled the sky above, plunging below at dusk. Jehuti rose with the evening, keeping the stars and moon shining brightly until dawn, recording the stories of the people as they dreamt. Re roused the mortals with the dawn's light. Soon they would rise, ready to engage with their day, exploring the wonders of this magical land they were fortunate to inhabit. And then Re would complete his circuit once more, painting the sky in a mural of pink and purple and red, signaling the return of sleep.